Now, given that Lucasfilm is getting ready to announce a handful of Star Wars projects, not just at Celebration, but also at D23 that takes place later this year, including, of course, all the earnings calls that will be done by Bob Iger and a lot of other members over at Disney that's going to unveil this on a quarterly basis. We also have a lot of things in 2024 that's going to expand the roadmap even further. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for that great and kind support. Now, focusing on a show called The Acolyte, we know that as of right now, they've been going through a lot of reshoots, a lot of rewrites. Specifically, they've been really rearranging scenes and trying to regulate things. The one big critique I already have about the show, even before the show is not even finished, is that Leslie Headland, the writer, the main writer of the show, the showrunner, actually never watched all 3 prequel trilogy movies and really has no clue about the lore, the canon of Star Wars, you name it, and is really just using this as an opportunity to really kind of put her own material out there. Now, some fans may debate this like, oh, you don't necessarily need to be a Star Wars fan to understand the lore, but in my point of view, you do. You have to know exactly what goes where and exactly how things work. That's why Joby Harold, I think, was not the best fit for the Kenobi series, and that had a lot to do with the fact that he never watched Revenge of the Sith from start to finish. But anyways, I digress. That moves on to exactly what's going on with the Acolyte series right now. Now, we know that there's been a lot of test footage that has been supplied by Kathleen Kennedy to the Disney higher-ups to really kind of propel the Star Wars project in a more, valuable state, and so far it's not working. Basically, all the Disney executives almost are turned off by all the test footage that Kennedy has been supplying to them, and a lot of it has to do with the opening and ending scenes of the Acolyte series. Now, on top of this, given that Lucasfilm is going through major changes right now, initiated by Bob Iger, both John and Dave are beginning to work on several other projects yet to be announced. Now, it's described that for the Acolyte TV show, the opening scene that was put together by Kathleen Kennedy was demonstrated to Disney executives with more test footage, and that they are very unhappy with the results. Disney is now in the process of attempting to drastically change the opening scene of the Acolyte that takes place inside of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant during the events of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Much like the previous test footage, in this scene, however, Kennedy focused on completely changing the Jedi Council members by excluding Mace Windu, Yoda, and even other known characters that were a part of the Council during Episode 1. This is said to be the biggest retcon there is for the Acolyte, where the infiltrator that is a Sith who poses as a Jedi inside of the Council to attempt to destroy all members of the Jedi Council. So let me just stop right here for 1 second. Now, the thing that I have the biggest problem with the Acolyte right now is how much of a change or impact it's having on the prequel trilogy lore. Now, Leslie Headland did talk about this, that the Acolyte is going to have a big impact on prequel trilogy canon, and basically a lot of things are going to be changed. And without a doubt, this is one of them, and Disney is not happy about it. In fact, they are acting immediately and quickly to attempt to get rid of the scene by erasing it or reshooting it into something else, or just kind of doing something completely different. They're really on the game for this, and they want to make sure that the Acolyte will at least be a somewhat decent show. Maybe not a hit, but a somewhat decent show, but somewhere between Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie's production, it's been a very big nightmare for all of them. Now, when we look at this scene in particular, basically what's happening is, this is a flash forward, alright? Now, we know that the beginning opens up on this strange, tall grass world where the Sith are training against each other, and it flashes forward to the events of the Phantom Menace, showcasing the Jedi, or should I say, the Sith infiltrating the Jedi, posing, of course, as one of them. And I think that just does not work in the canon at all. Even Palpatine, when he was masking himself as, the Chancellor, really kind of just putting himself in there. even then they still sensed something was going on. Something was off somewhere, but they couldn't quite put a pin on it. But in this scenario, the Jedi are clueless, they don't know what's going on, and Kennedy seems to be devaluing the way that the Jedi are able to kind of justify specific actions and using their right judgment. Now, the thing about this too is that Leslie Headland could very well also not know what she's doing, but I'm leaning more towards that she does know what she's doing in this scene. This is too drastic of a thing to exclude. By getting rid of Mace Windu and Yoda off the Jedi Council is ludicrous to me. You know, the fact that they're doing that and excluding those members and implanting brand new ones that we don't even know, I think that this show is going to get a lot of backlash if it does end up happening with this opening scene. And that's why Disney wants to get rid of it as soon as possible. So, on to the next big thing here. However, the test footage that Kennedy provided involves no appearances of the known characters due to Leslie holding a lack of understanding to the lore and the canon, and never even watched The Phantom Menace. Now, this scene is said to be a flash forward, like I said, and Disney is acting quickly to shelve the entire scene. Now, the actual sequence also involves a shot in which the Sith posing as a Jedi even has a Jedi Master training her as a student, and senses no connection to the dark side at all. Something that Disney is looking down on sharply right now. Iger is making sure that the scene does not see the light of day. And you know what? Good on him for at least stepping in and taking action, because it's better than nothing. I could not imagine if this scene actually makes it to the final cut and how the fans are going to react. It may very well be worse than The Last Jedi Backlash, easily, by not only getting rid of some Jedi Council members, but also having a Sith posing as a Jedi with no kind of sense from the Jedi, kind of getting an idea that there's something wrong, is just, well, out of place. It does not work, and it really breaks canon. So this whole idea that Leslie and Kennedy have to try and do something completely different and unique to kind of stand out is working against them. It's not working well. And basically Disney's very turned off about this. So, yeah, I mean, like I said many times, this production has been a very messy situation. It hasn't been the brightest one, and Skeleton Crew is even worse of a production. Alright, so there's a lot of things happening with Kathleen Kennedy's projects, and a lot of things on the horizon that John and Dave are trying to really kind of save and move forward away from them. So, overall, the Acolyte overall, I'm hoping it doesn't leave a bad image on Carrie-Anne Moss, because I do believe that she's a great actress and all, but I think that this show, if it gets the backlash that it does get, it's going to really be a bad thing for a lot of the actors starring in this series. So, with that being all put out there, given that they excluded Yoda, they excluded Mace Windu, it just goes to show you that she has no care about the canon. So fill me in below in the comments, guys, what you all have to say about this below, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.